Alright, so today we'll be doing the drum brakes on a 2012 Colorado. This will be the LT model with four-wheel drive. Now I'll usually jack it up on the differential, and then I'll put my jack stands on the rear axle. But obviously be careful of your brake lines, as well as anything else that's important. Now, once you get your tire off, you're gonna have these you're gonna want to break off. Okay, so we got some movement. I don't know if you can really see because this lighting. Remember, safety glasses. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm gonna spray with some more PB blaster. One there. And give you those nuts as well. Now I usually get in here at this point if I can. Go left to right, side to side. Bam. You're gonna want to make sure you get videos and pictures of all of this, because with this one has 4 different springs. You've got the bottom one, you've got the one that's in front of the adjuster, you got a spring going from there to there as well, and I'm gonna replace the wheel cylinder too, so none of this really matters. You want to get these clips off. You have one on each side. Alright, so our next step is to get these springs off. As you can see, I kind of yanked this one off when I was prying on it, so that one's already off. Now you can buy a specialized tool, but you don't really need it. And as you are, going, do yourself a favor and lay out all the old parts exactly how they are, so you can reference it when you're putting your new parts on. So, and you'll see it actually has these recesses on it, and I'll show you on the new parts. This stuff is completely destroyed, so you're not going to want to look at it from there. I don't lie, probably should have took those off last, but since this side was already broken, I might as well get the other one out of my way. Now, we'll start here. I'm going to grab this spring here, push it up, and get it out of that groove. And as you can see, it attaches to that point right there, so we'll start there. And that's going to hold on to your tensioner. Get that off. Now, go to this bottom spring. Goes in like this, so the actual hooks will go on the inside. Final spring is going to be hidden behind your tensioner. So, and I could probably barely see it, but there's that hook right there. And there's a hook over there. Pay attention to what the orientation of that spring is. So, now this is a pretty important part. So it's going to go in like this. I don't know if you can see that. So that little notch is going to go on the inside. That little notch right there is going to go on the outside. And remember, put all these parts exactly how they came off for later reference. So you're going to want to keep these to be able to identify these as well. And I do believe, yep, you're going to have this little stud right here that's got a groove in it. That's going to go facing the outside. And the orientation for this spring, you're going to want that hook, that little offset, that's going to go on the inside. It's going to go on the inside. Now, this is on here because your parking brake, and this is a part you're not going to replace. This is going to stay on your truck. Now, if you turn over this shoe, you're going to see you have a clip on here that's actually crimped. So this is you're gonna come in with pliers and squeeze that to assure it's locked in. So what you're gonna do with that. So as you can see, we actually took a screwdriver and pried in between there. Now we're just gonna come in the back and just get that all the way off. Bam. Now you're gonna have a washer. As you can see, the curve is actually gonna be facing outward. And after that, you've now freed your parking brake, and that is gonna do for disassembly. The next step is gonna be to get this wheel cylinder off, but first, let's get this cleaned up. Alright, so we got it cleaned up pretty decent. Now, the main points you're worried about with cleaning are these 6 contact points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's gonna be 2 down here, 1 here, and 1 here. And you're gonna be putting anti-seize on those anyways. So now we're changing the wheel cylinder. So if you're wondering with this silicone pieces, that's to adjust the tensioner. So if you want, most of the time if you get the spring kit, this should be able to pop out. And to get to the wheel cylinder, we're going to take it to the back. Okay, so this is going to be leading into the wheel cylinder. You're going to have your bleed valve. You're going to have 1 screw here, 1 screw here, and this right here. So I advise you take off this first, and then we'll take these off. I believe this is a 10 millimeter, but let me double check that. Give me 1 second. Now, the materials you're going to need for this job are all right here. I went with AutoZone. Again, this is 2012 Colorado LT 4-wheel drive. This is going to be the 3.7 L5. This is going to be your drums, like I said, from AutoZone. This is going to be the shoes. This is going to be your spring kit. These are going to be your wheel cylinders. This one's from Advanced Auto. This one is from AutoZone. This is going to be your adjuster. Again, from AutoZone. That's going to be for your passenger side. And this is going to be your adjuster. And this is going to be for your driver's side. So let's get that wheel cylinder on. Next step, let's go over our spring kit. Now everything you see here, double it, because I've already done one side. So you're going to have this spring, you're going to have 2 pins, 2 more springs, and these are going to sit on top. Now when you do connect these, you're going to see it has like a cup inside of it, and you're going to want to get this right here to sit inside that little valley. You're going to have the little silicone piece for the adjuster. You're going to have a washer, and you're going to have a clamp. So let's get on to the next step. Now with your brake shoes, you're going to want to look for some differences. Obviously you're going to get 4, but you're going to want to look for this hole up here, because that's where your emergency brake is going to connect. And on this you're going to look for the stud, because that's where that spring is going to connect. Next step in the process, take some anti-seize and coat these 6 contact points, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're gonna have 2 down here. 1 there, and 1 there. Next, let's attach the parking brake to the actual shoe. So the parking brake is gonna go like this, and your shoe, there you're gonna see this hole at the top. You're gonna want to put that in there. All right, now as you can see, that clears into there, and that's what we want. Let's get our washer. Remember, this is gonna face up. Let's get our clip. Now, see, we got that clip in between that groove with our washer. Our next step is going to actually be to close this up. And just like that, she's all closed up. Now, I would definitely recommend trying to get that as flat as possible. As you can see, we got our brake shoe locked in. Alright, let's move on to the next step, which is going to be to clip our shoe in to the actual drum. The holes that you're going to be using to clip in are this and that. So with this portion, we're going to take these 3 components: the spring, the pin, and that locking mechanism. So you're going to want to take this, and you'll see you have, this will only go in one way, and it locks in there just like that. So now this always seems to be a pain if you aren't using 2 people of the tool. So let's give it a go. So again, attaches, she's going to attach in the master cylinder, or the wheel cylinder, and it's going to tug behind there. So we used a pair of vice grips, held this down, pushed that in, and then turned it from the back, and our end results are such. Now you're going to do that with the opposite side. So at this point, you're going to have no wheel cylinder installed, if you did so. And again, those are going to be clipped in to there. You're going to have 2 holding pins. And again, those will look like that. They'll be cinched on. That's how you know they're done correctly. And you're going to have your bottom parts tucked in behind that mounting bracket. So for our next 2 steps, we're going to throw in our adjuster, which these teeth, this gear, is going to be facing that right there. And we're going to throw in this spring and the adjuster tensioner. Remember, the recess faces inwards, the recesses on this one faces outwards. Next is the spring, and the contact points for that spring are going to be right here and right here. And the spring, this offset is going to be facing inwards. So let's double check our work. This has to be, no, there's a good chance it's going to move, so boom, just like that. You're going to have your attachment point right there, your attachment point right there, your adjuster, just like that. Now, let's move on to the other spring. We're going to install this one, and it's going to be these 2 points right here, one here, one here. Alright, so our last part, we're going to put the tensioner on, which is this part, and we'll put this spring on, and the last part is to seal it up with the drum. So this is going to go this way, and it's going to hook in to that right there. And that's what's going to keep that gear from sliding. Now the spring is going to go this way. It's going to grab here, and you're going to end up on that tensioner right there. Hook into that. Now you just got to make sure that you're on a gear. So I'll take my screwdriver, push that down a little bit. So, like I said, attached here and attached there. That's going to be the final spring. Assess everything that you did, make sure it's done correctly. And we'll get to cleaning that drum and slapping that on. We'll do one more assessment. Make sure that both your shoes are behind those bracket. Our spring is locked down at the bottom. Our springs are done correctly there. Our tensioner's on right. And make sure that your drum shoes are on the cylinder correctly as well. And now that your drum is installed, usually, like when we took it apart, you'd have 2 clips, but AutoZone was negligent to give me those. So if you don't have them, you can still slap your wheel on. Another good part would be to actually bleed this section, since you actually took your brake line off.